Wilson Morales from Black Film TV. Hello, folks. How's it going?
Hey, brother, how are you doing?
Good. So how did you guys want to make, Ish and Emma different from what's in the book and make it your own? Obviously, this is, there are those who are going to read the book and say, okay, they're looking for the same similarities, but I'm sure, for television stakes, they added a little bit more to it.
One of the things that I don't want to say I disliked about the book, but kind of threw me off was the women have written of the time period, so he actually really does glorify Emma in many ways, but then he kind of takes a few shots at her intelligence, at her sort of her upbringing and what she comes from. And I wanted to bring this richness and this intelligence to her, this strength to her, this warrior woman to her that I did not find in the book. But what it came from was the idea of this goddess-like character that he wrote. So it's a little bit of a both what I wanted to sort of bring to her, but also what I wanted to keep true to her.
Mm-hmm. And Alex, what do you want to bring to Ish?
Well, I think the beauty of an adaptation is exactly that. You get to take parts of a book and make it your own. Mm-hmm. So for me, really, it was the main difference between Ish and Emma in the book and here to me is that it's Alexander and Jessica playing it. Mm-hmm. So for me is it wasn't so much about consciously doing anything different. It was just about living in that space with Jessica. And she's such a formidable force as an actor and human, and somebody I love deeply, that it was very, very easy to find a connection that to us was very real.
It's always so serious. He seems like he never smiles.
And that was conscious. So Ish, in the book as well, he's very much a solitary man. He loves his time alone. He's a geologist. He works in nature. That is his happy place until solitude is forced upon him, and it's not a choice any longer. I think the struggle for Ish isn't just finding other humans, but it's finding a way to connect with other humans. And that is something that Emma truly helps him do as the show progresses.
You had an answer for that already. You didn't even think twice. You already just knew. That was so quick. How did you guys get along in order to establish that relationship that we see on screen and we can believe that this is a couple that met under circumstances but got together and are raising a family?
It's interesting, the parallels of it. The two of us are coming together to tell this story, to, do something that we both believe in, that is so important to us. And so you're coming into the fold ready to just give your all. And I think that's the beautiful thing about Emma and Ish. They come in as, just ready to give to each other. And I think that I feel like it was the first day. Immediately we just clicked, we just connected, and it's amazing when you can do scene work. I tell him he's my favorite scene partner because he's so open, he's such a big heart, and he's just like, oh yeah, sure, everything note you give him, he's like, yeah, 100%. What if this? And you're like, okay, great, all right, great, yeah, 100%. And it's just like this click and this sort of free space to just play. That's how I feel.
Does Emma learn a lot from Ish? I feel like Ish comes in like MacGyver, like he figures things out. And Emma, we see her like she's like a little warrior at first, and then she simmers down. They get together. What's her trait?
Never simmers down. She just allows him to do what he needs to do. No, but no, I think that they learn from each other. There are things that he would not be able to do without her, and there are things that she would not be able to do without him. And the beauty is when they allow each other to go, okay, you know what? You do know better here. And that's the beauty of relationship. That's the beauty of people. And hopefully what people learn from this too. Yeah.
Alex, before I let you go, obviously I've seen you work on Heels. This is something totally different. What led you to say yes to take you on this project?
Simply because of that. To me, this was, Michael Wright called me and said, you're perfect for this. You have to do this. It'll be the hardest thing you ever do and the most rewarding. And he promised on all of that. To me, one thing I love, and I wish I could say it was by design, but there was absolute strokes of luck. But my career thus far has been so versatile simply because of these opportunities, I'm so grateful to be able to say yes to. This project in specific, it it was truly the actor's dream role. I mean, there's really nothing like this. Watching a character from 25 to 70 years old as he tries to find his way through this new world and rebuild civilization is unlike anything I've ever been presented with. And you know, I felt so connected to the book when I read it. It just felt like something I had to be a part of. Especially now. I mean, it's pretty ironic that, I mean, the book was written in 1949, but it's never felt so topical, you know. And at the end of the day, I love that this story, when you finish it's left very hopeful. And I love that, especially in this setting.
Before I let you go, people will get a kick of seeing Jessica as Emma, and she never ages. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
Like, as they say, black don't crack. Like, what year is this?
It's based on real life. Thank you.
I was about to say, I don't know if I can say that, but you said it for me, so thank you.
Ages, all right.
Hey, keep it going. We'll talk down the road. Take care, folks.
Hey, thank you so much.
Wilson Morales from Black Women TV. Hey, Aaron, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. So, how is your Charlie different from what those who have read the book?
You know, I think what's interesting, right? When anytime things are based on source material, I think that, you know, I try to read it and absorb it, and then there's a time that you have to let it go, right? Because you have to focus exactly what's on the page. And so, I don't know, the book situation was so brutal and kind of very devastating. I tried to imbue him with as much charm as I could and as much more likability. So I really tried to make, you know, even though he's really the antithesis of Alex's character Ish, I really tried to make him as winning as possible. And when I read the book, it didn't come off that way to me as much. And so, you know, that was the big, I think the big difference for me, and the big trick was to try to make this guy, at least for a certain amount of time, for the audience to think, man, maybe he's not that bad a guy, right? So I think that was the biggest difference for me.
I guess the key word is charming. You know, like,
yes.
you like to think that everybody that comes into Ish's world is like, what is their ulterior motives?
Yeah.
And with Charlie, you see that initially on, but you wonder, like, okay, are there two sides to him, or when is the shoe going to drop on us?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
what his true motives are. What led you to say yes to taking on this project?
You know, I really, really like this genre. And, you know, it's interesting that this book, of course, became much more prevalent 4 years ago now. I can't believe 2020 was 4 years ago. But I like the questions that it asks, right? I think we're used to a certain amount of kind of post-apocalyptic thing, and there to be kind of a monster or something to come up, or an alien, or, you know, this I think is a much more human story. I think it asks really cool questions about, say this happened, right? God forbid this happened and a small group of humans survived. You know, could we start over in a better way, right? Could we start over in a way that we live more harmoniously with each other and accepting of each other, with the environment, with everything around us? And, you know, I think that that's something I haven't necessarily seen in this kind of genre before. And I just think it's really, really fascinating and interesting.
And you have to think that, you know, 2020 pandemic, you know, we had to be in a position where we can only be close with a certain group of people near us.
Yeah.
You know, we couldn't go anywhere. So that, you know, that lends to playing this character like, okay, we get an idea as to what this world, not exact the same world, but, you know, what it means like when you have to be in close proximity. You have to be able to trust people who are near you when, you know, all could be lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting how, you know, I have, you know, the crew that I show up with, we have this little band of people that really had to band together and fight and survive. And, you know, in a different way than I think that Ish and his and their crew have needed to survive. Right. And it's, ours is a little more with blunt force. And I think it's interesting to see. I think much like anything else, when you're put in circumstances that are difficult, people are only going to become more of who they are. And I think that this is the case too. Like, you know, I had an idea that this guy was probably like a adolescent criminal and maybe, you know, selling drugs or stealing cars or something like that. And then he gets thrust into this position where all of a sudden he can just kind of use his criminal background, for lack of a better word, to manipulate other people. So yeah, it's interesting how we also had that experience, that you kind of need to band together with those around you and just get through situations however you can.
Funny enough, like I've seen you work over the years, whether it be on stage or on TV. And not that long ago, I just saw an old episode, from Law and Order SVU,
Yeah.
from back in the day.
Yeah.
You've been working such a long time with this series. When you're working with different people, are you still learning as an actor? Whether it be with your cast or your director or your producer? That, like, okay, what did I take from this series that I can take on to my whatever project I do next?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been so fortunate to work for a long time on so many different things, but this is the first time I've kind of stepped into a bit of this, I guess you'd call it a sci-fi, genre in a way, and this and real world building. I think this is something that, to create a circumstance in a world like this, it takes a lot of work from everybody. But I also had a wonderful time with Todd, the showrunner and the writer. He was on set with us every day and had tons of ideas, and he really pushed us to use our own imaginations and come up with, things that might be a little outside of what exactly you'd think would be the thing you're going for. So I don't know. I learned a lot from him, and I learned a lot from working with Alex and Jessica. Their connection and their chemistry and kind of the love that they shared with each other and their characters, I think, was so palpable, and it was really fun to push up against that. But yeah, I learned a lot from everybody I worked with on this.
Congrats on the road. Congrats on the series. Let's see where Charlie goes. If they change it down the road.
Yeah, we'll see. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wilson Morales from Black Film TV. Hello, folks. How's it going?
Hey,
Good.
Wilson.
Hi, Wilson.
Very nice to meet you.
Yes. So, Todd, talk to me about putting the series together and how similar or different you want it to be from the book.
Well, the book is such a masterpiece. It gave such a great layout, and thematically, it was so rich. So I came in with a treasure trove to work from. And then it was really about updating a lot of things. The women in the book are not captured in an accurate way, I would say. I don't want to say it was misogynist, but it was certainly not a profound understanding of women. So in our show, the women have moved from the background to the foreground and really are the heroes of our show, the backbone, the spine of our show, which I find to be a very accurate depiction. As I move through the world as a man, I have found that it's the women in my life who have been correcting my path. So,
Kearie, whose idea was to stretch out or stretch thin the years of that go in between the episodes?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
In terms of the years that go by, blink and all of a sudden you're at year 10, year 14. instead of stretching it out a bit.
We had no choice. I mean, you have to fit an entire novel into 6 episodes. So you had to choose the specific scenes that would hopefully tell the story best and help us bridge the gap between 7 years to 10 years. And birthday party, the birthday party scene is the best idea right there. 10 years went by.
So when you have the characters, are we looking, and I was talking to Aaron, and goes, let's hopefully, that all of the characters have to be humanized to a point where they have 2 layers in them. And, especially when you think about Charlie's character, like, okay, when is the shoe going to drop? From his initial appearance, you're like, okay, there's something off with this guy. But then that's what you said about the previous 2 guys, previous individuals who came in before that. How do you work with the characters so that way we, the audience, can see, there's more to them than what they appear to be?
well, this is the fundamental question of how we move forward as a society. You have to trust a stranger if you're going to build a relationship.
Yeah.
People that become married and have kids, they're strangers when they meet. And if we don't have a layer of openness available, we'll never build anything. But of course, that vulnerability and that surrendering leaves an open spot for the bad guy. And so where does trust begin and doubt interfere? And that's the fundamental question really of the show, that we want to ask society to look in the mirror and say, who do I trust? What is the cost of trust? And how do I still stay alert to the bad guys? Because there are plenty of bad guys out there.
Mm-hmm. I think about, in the last few years, we've seen a number of series that, whether it be apocalyptic, whether it be zombies, it's all about survival of the fittest. and what does it take? And obviously we ourselves went through a pandemic where we had to just be, find those near us, like you said, trust, wow, what do you think is going to be the ingredients for the audience to see this? Because I always say, listen, you have a lot of series out there, but it's a matter of the marketing, because we have way too many streamers, and it's a matter of finding that one show that says, I'm going to stick with this because I believe there's something there that I'm interested in. Kearie, is there anything you could add to as far as what's going to bring in the audience?
Yes. I'm hoping what brings in the audience is the fact that this is different and it's a unique take on the post-apocalyptic world, and it doesn't rely on exterior third-party negative influences or issues. And I hope what attracted me initially is how you take modern man and who doesn't know how to take care of himself without a society to support him, to create his cars, to give him electricity, doctors, government, and he has to now fend for himself. And I'm hoping that is interesting enough for people to come and want to watch. I do.
Yeah, I want to say that our show is rooted in love, and that's what people want to watch. That's why they watch television anyway, for the characters. So to reference what you said earlier about all these other shows, there's a very famous show that is currently on, and it's called The Last of Us, and it's people, surviving mushroom attacks. I want to call our show, as the subtitle, The First of Us, because if we had to start over all again, and these are the people that were going to do it, these would be the very first people in a way, and we get a second chance at the Garden of Eden. Let's see if we get it right this time.
Congrats on the series. Let's see where it goes. See if we can get more out of this. You'll find a way. We'll talk down the road. Take care.
Thank you so much, Wilson.